Chloe, I came home on a Tuesday afternoon and stopped dead in my driveway. There were painted parking lines on my property, white lines, stall numbers. They had literally sent someone out with a stencil kit and a can of paint and marked up my private driveway like it was a municipal parking lot. I didn't yell. I didn't call anyone. I walked inside, sat down at my kitchen table, and I opened my laptop, because I already knew they had just handed me everything I needed to end this. And 2 weeks later, 6 of their precious board member cars were sitting on flatbed tow trucks while I watched from my porch with a cup of coffee. My property sits at the end of a cul-de-sac. The lot is slightly irregular, wider than most. My lot came with something almost none of my neighbors had: a double-wide private driveway that extends along the side of my garage. The board at the time was run by a woman I'll call Martha. She had a 3-ring binder. She had color-coded tabs. She referenced Robert's Rules of Order in casual conversation. She had passed what she was calling a temporary community parking expansion resolution. I documented every stall line, every stencil, every painted number. I pulled out my Pinewood HOA CC&Rs, and I read them, all of them, again, carefully. Section 4, Paragraph 2 of our CC&Rs states clearly, the association shall have no authority to restrict, alter, encumber, or utilize any portion of a lot owner's private property without the express written consent of the property owner. Martha had just violated the governing document of her own association, in writing, in paint, on my driveway. I called my real estate attorney. "This is clean," she said. They had no authority to do this. Demanding professional removal of all paint markings at Pinewood HOA expense, full restoration of my driveway sealant, written rescission of the resolution. Jessica sent that letter on a Thursday. Certified mail, email to the Pinewood HOA's registered agent, and a copy hand-delivered by me to Martha's front door. I watched Martha open it through her storm door. I watched her face go through about 4 different stages of emotion in about 3 seconds. A typed letter on Pinewood HOA letterhead, informing me that the resolution was valid, and including a fine notice. $250. She didn't understand that she'd just escalated this from a property dispute into something I could take directly to a judge. We filed in Superior Court 5 days later a civil complaint for unauthorized property alteration, tortious interference with property rights, and an emergency injunction motion. The judge granted the emergency injunction 2 days before the spring Pinewood HOA meeting. The order was specific. The stalls painted on my property were to be vacated immediately, so I called a licensed towing company Friday night. I explained the situation. I showed them the court order. I printed the signs that night. I laminated them. I installed them Saturday morning at 9 a.m. at 12:47 p.m. The first car pulled onto my pad, then another, then 3 more, 6 cars total. At 1:05 p.m., I called the towing company. At 1:22 p.m., the first flatbed arrived. By 2:15 p.m., all 6 vehicles were gone. I had a cup of coffee. I did not gloat. The Pinewood HOA meeting that afternoon was, by all accounts, somewhat chaotic. Martha was absent. The temporary community parking expansion resolution was formally rescinded. A professional concrete restoration company arrived. They worked for 6 hours. My pad looked better than it had before they painted it. I received a check from the Pinewood HOA's carrier, a settlement amount that more than covered Jessica's fees with something left over. The $250 fine, voided in writing. Martha resigned from the board the following month. The new board's first act was to formally amend the CC&Rs to remove any ambiguity about private property rights. That's the only way you win these things. Not by yelling, not by making scenes. By knowing your rights, documenting everything, and letting the process work. Subscribe to Ho Drama Neighbor for more.